to tell you the whole story, what happened to his friend. So it's more than, here's a poem. No. Think about it for a second, what happened. If you get a chance, go to a place like that. Now that's actually, my wife has been interested in history. She likes doing that, and I have to go to these places because it's like a pilgrimage for me. So she likes that. Airplane Museum, that's a different story. Like when I was in London, I went to the RAF Museum alone. That's when she said, I'm going to go someplace else. That's okay. You're allowed to do that. All right, so where do we finish? The Alamo. So we're talking about war, and I will tell some funny stories about this. It partially is just to kind of, lighten up this whole thing, but also it leads to so much, and that's part of it. So, at the Alamo, then, did we finish the battle? No. They never should have stayed there. It was a 13-day siege. End of April, and then March 6, 1836. Actually, it wasn't really a siege. The Mexicans surrounded them, but it was more, they were going to give the Texans an opportunity to surrender. They foolishly did not surrender. There weren't enough Texans to hold the Alamo. And so when I guess I do need, did I turn the projector on? I guess I do need that on. I guess I didn't, did I? I was thinking I didn't need it. They used to have a nice string, and then it broke off. Somebody kept doing this to it. Can you believe that? And then they wrote on my screen. I'm moving the carpet.
Why do you even have a carpet?
Why wouldn't I? Answer my question. I like the risk, because someday I'm going to slide on this. Because I like playing with fire. So, at the Alamo, they should never have defended there, and they were doomed. And the big thing, the reason why they were doomed there is a mission. Did we mention this? Did we talk about this at all? A mission was like a massive complex. So it was a church, and that's really all that's left of the Alamo in San Antonio right there. What's that? But it was an entire community for grazing land and even small vegetable farms. And it was a walled place because of Comanche attack. I did mention the Comanches last year, right? Last year. I mentioned them last year, but also yesterday. The problem was, with less than 140 men and almost just a couple cannon, they couldn't defend it. And the walls here are like 14 feet high. So if you have a firing step, so you can stand and like have the wall, like right below the wall, so you can fire over the wall, you think that's great to defend yourself, but you hear you fire, 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 and you see what happens? They get into that blind spot under the wall. And that's what happened that morning when the Mexicans attacked. They attacked in a couple different places, but overwhelmed them at, that's a picture from 1836, a watercolor. But they overwhelmed them right here. They overwhelmed them at the high spot. You figure that'd be the best place to defend? No, it's the easiest place to get close. And so when that happened, the Alamo fell very quickly. There's going to be, it's kind of an American history, especially Texan history, to have, this last stand where they all fought to the last man. Davy Crockett would fight him off. This is a very famous painting of him beating him off with his gun, and you need a comic book about it. No, most of them surrendered, and then what happened to them? They were all executed. Now, looking back on it, a cruel, horrific move, but also just foolish on the Mexican part, because it gave them a rally. It's called Captain Fortune. There was these comic books, little historical comic books. Oh yeah, well.
It's a cat.
No, it's not a cat. He's a wig.
Oh.
Democrats wore the cats on their head. It's a raccoon. That's pretty much all that's left of the Alamo, or just a church, and it's in the middle of town now. And this is what it looked like. They about tore it down in 1890. It's back up. Talking too fast. It about came down in 1890, but fortunately, they saved it. And more people actually a year go to the movie site for the 1960 John Wayne movie, The Alamo. And there's John Wayne with a raccoon on his head. He played Davy Crockett. And They go to this movie site more than they actually go to the real Alamo. It's pretty funny. Has anyone seen the movie? I feel your pain.
Right?
It's your basic John Wayne movie.
The Ripple looks all in one.
And no one has ever played John Wayne, the role of John Wayne, better than John Wayne. His whole role he became acting of John Wayne. Oh, I think there's some good ones. You want to see something really funny, watch The Green Beret. So that's another story. I showed you my special topics one time talking about pro-war propaganda. It's pretty funny. At the Battle of San Jacinto, though, Santa Anna made a fatal mistake. He thought the war was over after Alamo and Goliad, and now I'm going to King Arthur. And Goliath, he spread his army out, thinking that he divided up in small pieces because he's going to sweep up the Texans like a net. The problem was Sam Houston kept retreating with his Texan force and waiting for the right time to attack now a smaller unit of the Mexican army. And that happened to Santa Anna's personal force at San Jacinto Creek. Here's the creek in the background. This is the painting that's there. And it's surrounded by a creek, a couple low hills, and then mesquite trees. Mesquite trees are like a really big bush in reality. Has anyone ever seen a mesquite tree? What's the most noticeable feature of a mesquite tree? They have thorns. Their thorns are like that long. And so, you pretty much, you're in mesquite country, you don't go through it, and horses won't. And so he's basically bottled himself in. And Santa Anna went in there thinking the mesquite trees will protect them and then go out and defeat Sam Houston whenever he wants to. It was mid-afternoon. That's time for a siesta. Hot day in the afternoon, you take a nap. Makes sense, right? But his cavalry took their saddles off their horses, used the saddles as a pillow to let their horses rest. Right at that moment, Santa Anna attacked. Now, Santa Anna did not have many trained soldiers, but it was a complete and total surprise. The Mexicans were not prepared for that. Santa Anna became really overconfident. What?
He said Santa Anna attacked.
Did I say Santa? And that's part of the problem. Santa Anna attacked himself. Nobody expected himself to betray himself. Trust nobody, not even himself. Valid point. Houston attacked. And the Texans swept in. Total surprise. Should never have happened the way it did. The Mexicans panicked, and then they tried to run away and ran into the mesquites. And it was a disaster. The battle was over in 15 minutes, a decisive Texan victory. The killing went on for an hour. As Texans, many of them cut down fleeing Mexicans as revenge for Goliad and the Alamo. They captured a lot, but they butchered a lot too. One of the horrific parts about this war. But Santa Anna was able to escape a little bit of the fighting, and he went to a low hill. And at this low hill, he watched it basically with his staff, planning on escaping. Because Santa Anna believed, with some justification, if he escapes, he could rally his army and still win, even though it would have been hard after losing this battle. But he was not done, and he could have escaped. So I have decided that I will take you to Texas, to San Jacinto. You're going to feel like you're there. I know what you're doing. I'm giving you a map assignment where you have to draw. And then I'm going to come right here and show off my cartography skills. Don't be jealous. I was born with these skills. Here we go. There it is. That's a hill, all right? So here's ground. Hill's up here, right? Pretty good, huh? Do you feel like you're there? You notice humidity just doubled? Yeah. It's like you just went to Texas. Do you miss the humidity or... It's a little bit shocking you come here. It's a little dry here. So Santa Anna's on the hill. And he's got a few members of his staff. So there they are, right? You see him? Now, let's be clear about it. Which one's Santa Anna? Actually, he's the guy in front because he's got the big generalissimo hat. Okay, so he's on top. And I know they're to scale. The Texans had a couple of cannon. They fired, they're called 6-pounders, meaning they fired a 6-pound cannonball. So an iron ball about that big. And they literally unlimbered them. They couldn't fire them. The battle was over so quickly, they were like, we can't fire a cannon. And they had so little gunpowder, they never really could fire it before, so they just wanted to fire at somebody. So they saw this group of guys on here and they started lobbing shells at them. Now, think of it this way. Here we got this flat land and they have a cannon. And they have to elevate the barrel, but it can't get high enough. So I'll draw you the cannon. So we got the cannon, right? Wheels. Right? That's a big cannon. Here we have one of the Texans, right?
Where's his hat?
He's
Good
literally
point.
double the size of the
Well, it's perspective. And, right, you're right, hat, but he's a Texan. So we need a really big hat. That's a 20 or 30 gallon hat. And they're firing the cannonballs. They're hitting the hillside and then bouncing up. Now, Santa Anna's up there very much distracted, thinking about what I'm going to have to do, watching this disaster unfold. Cannonball hit. Boom, 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 boom. Also, now, if something is coming from below, up at you, there's kind of an optical illusion, but it feels like it's going slower than what it actually is. So that might have been part of it. But also, he had just about a second, boom, it landed. There was a cannonball coming right at him. Obviously, he should have gone like that. But what did he do? He decided to stop it. Yeah. Ripped it right there. Hanging right there, right above the knee. Just ripped it off. Okay. He's in agony. They make up a stretcher out of a couple cloaks and a couple pieces of wood, and they're going to still sneak him out. He's not going to quit. He said he had issues, but he was a fighter. Problem was he's in agony. But he was also an opium addict. So they got him opium, and he's smoking opium and taking him down the hill. Well, as they're taking him away, you have all these Mexicans who are taken prisoner. And they assume Santa Anna's dead, or lost, he might be executed. And all of a sudden, you can imagine someone like, Santa Anna, he's alive! So the detective's like, there it is, got him. Santa Anna's captured. Houston, who's also wounded, now has him. And Santa Anna would be forced to sign a treaty after this battle, giving away Texan independence. Got it? That's a good little story of a battle. That's how Santa Anna, eventually, Santa Anna would have over 1,500 wooden legs, or various other types of legs. Remember that. We will come back to the legs on Monday. Oh, yeah. And don't forget bubblegum. So, with that, let's see. Yeah. We'll come back to this. So, after the Battle of San Jacinto, Texas is now independent. Look at that map over there. In fact, I can do it right here. Right there. Look how big Texas is, at least all that Texas claims. That's huge. How many states could that be? All this. And look at the states here, how big they are. Now compare it to that. And they have slavery. That's why Van Buren couldn't touch it. That's why William Henry Harrison avoided that issue in 1840. It's because of the size of Texas. And so that is why Harrison, after Harrison died, who became the president after Harrison? John Tyler. Now, Tyler, we did mention him. Clay got the tariff. We said about that cost, didn't we? Clay got a tariff bill passed, and what did Tyler do? Did I talk about that? Huh? Yeah. Tyler vetoed Clay's Whig policy, and Tyler was kicked out of the party. The Democrats did not want Tyler because Tyler left their party back 10 years ago. So Tyler has no political party. His only friends are a few wealthy plantation holders in the South. That's it. All his cabinet, except for one, resigned immediately, except for his Secretary of State. His Secretary of State was Daniel Webster. And Daniel Webster would get a treaty signed called the Webster-Ashburton Treaty. And the Webster-Ashburton Treaty in 1842, and then he promptly resigned, by the way. 1842 would be with Britain. Britain and the United States were fighting a battle over Maine. Also, there's some issues with the Great Lakes and a few other trading issues. But where's the border of Maine? The United States claimed all the way up, pretty much up to the St. Lawrence River. And there's going to be a war called the Aroostook War, because that river is in the middle, now the northern border of Maine. The Aroostook War. Now, this is a war basically between American lumberjacks and British lumberjacks. How do lumberjacks fight a war?
Axes.
Yes. Yeah, well, pre-chainsaw, axes and saws, and knocking trees on each other. So let's put it this way. It's a fun and exciting war. But in 1842, they solved that border crisis. But there's still a lot of animosity between the United States and Britain at this time. In fact, they're talking about potentially war here over Oregon. So it looks a lot like 1812 again. Well, with that, Webster immediately resigns, and Tyler is out on his own. Now, Tyler, though, his new Secretary of State would be a man by the name of Abel Upshur. Abel Upshur was a protege of a man who he was vice president for 2 different presidents. He also tried to nullify the tariff to unify the South to protect slavery. Who was this man? Who was Upshur's mentor? John C. Calhoun.
I expect you to be correct.
Yes. Upshur tells Tyler, here's the issue that will make your president. Here's the issue that might get you nominated again by a Southern party, Texas. If we annex Texas with slavery and make it very clear to any Southerner, any Southern politician, regardless of party, if you don't support this, you won't be reelected. Unify them all with a pro-Texas annexation policy, just like Calhoun did with the tariff. And that's what they began to push. We must annex this. And he began to ask members of Congress for a treaty. The problem is a treaty requires a 2/3 vote. Jefferson got a treaty for Louisiana, and so they thought they needed a treaty. But 2/3 of vote in the Senate, there's not enough Southern congressmen. They need a lot of Northern senators, and they're not going to get it. Now, Upshur knows this is trouble, but all he cares about is we make this such an issue, it might be enough for people, especially in the South, say we want Tyler again. But also to unify the South. Texas, on the other hand, is in desperate shape. Texas is falling apart. They have been an independent republic since 1836, and they're broke. The president of Texas by 1844 was Sam Houston. Houston's president of Texas, and he's got a real problem. What's his problem? James is pondering this, so I bet he knows his problem. No. You look stunned.
I'm just thinking about stuff. I don't even know.
Stuff. Thinking about stuff. Good for you. Stuff is interesting. Houston, there's nobody there. Nobody's moving to Texas. No one's immigrating from the United States to Texas, even for free land, because everyone's scared that the Mexicans will come back and take it. In fact, Houston's thinking they'll come back and then hang me as a traitor. And so, they're terrified that Houston is broke. They have no population / labor, workers. They can't pick cotton because there's hardly anyone to pick cotton. Yes, they still have slaves. They're forcing the slaves to do it. That was the reason for Texas independence in the first place. And also this, the country is broke. Nobody will loan them money. They have no tax revenues because they don't have any products and stuff because they don't have enough cotton production. Texas is in trouble. Houston's looking at this stuff and becoming infuriated. Annex us, or Mexico's going to take us back. He realizes going into 1844, I can't wait for political stunts here to get Tyler elected. It's now or never. So he does something amazing, and it ties in with this. He writes a letter to the British Foreign Minister Ashburton. So he writes a letter to Britain, sends an emissary to Britain, saying, we're an independent country. Can we become a protectorate of Britain? become a protectorate of Britain. Meaning that Britain will not quite colonize it, so Texas will still be independent, but Britain's going to have great influence on them, but also Britain will make sure that the United States, or for that matter, Mexico, or for that matter, the United States doesn't take them. He knows this will infuriate the United States because there's a lot of animosity here. It's just not that. Here's the thing. Why would Britain do this? Actually, you know, they were worried about the expansion of the United States. Well, there's even a bigger reason, well, that's true. Britain had begun the Industrial Revolution. But machines were taking workers' jobs. They had a lot of poor, unemployed, desperate people who wanted more rights. In fact, there was a near civil war, and it turned into what, when British responded, called the Peterloo Massacre. I mean, it looked like Britain might go into revolution. You have these people who don't have jobs and are desperate. You see? They can immigrate to Texas. And that would be a way for Britain to get rid of some of their excess population. I know that sounds weird. But that's what they're looking at. Immigration. And that would solve this population issue. And what's part B, excuse me, about this? There's a problem, at least for Texas. Britain, by the mid-1830s, saw themselves as the country that its mission was to get rid of slavery. Their ships patrolled the African coast trying to stop slave traders. They saw it as their mission. Now, Britain had a lot of problems. I'm not saying they treated their colonies well, the people there, but they were anti-slavery, 100%. Ironic, isn't it, after they did so much to promote slavery? What's Texas going to have to do to become a protectorate? And that's it. And then Texas would have no slavery. No slaves. Now, did Houston really want this? Houston's like, this is better than being taken back by Mexico. Ashburton responded with, yeah, maybe. And what did Houston do with that letter? Immediately sent it to Washington, D.C. Because what did he know would happen? They would just freak out. Britain's going to take it. We're going to have to go to war with Britain. This is going to be a disaster for the United States. Look at the map again. You see it? If this becomes a protectorate of Britain, all the way up to here, is it conceivable that the United States will get to California and New Mexico? They want California by then. Now there's a big roadblock, isn't there? But that's not all. A free Texas. But before major events could happen with Upshur deciding what to do in Tyler, a 20-pound parrot exploded and Abel Upshur died. And so, what happened next? Somebody actually asked about a parrot exploding. That's really like, sounds good. Next. Most parrots don't explode. I know a few do. I mean, yeah, right? You want to hear my parrot story? Yeah. I was in Costa Rica, and I was under a tree on a beach. Costa Rica is cool. And everybody is there. It's one that, everyone's so nice. That was a cool place. I'm under a tree on a beach, and actually the beach was this color almost. With all the volcanoes. We saw a volcano too. That was really neat. It was exploding. That was cool. Not just, I mean, I was like, wow, I've never seen that. Well, I'm not saying that one, but that was a good story. But under the tree, and there was parrots. There are a few parrots. And I'm like, wow, there's parrots. Bang, around my glasses. Yeah, you think that's funny? After the initial shock, yeah, it was really funny. But it was a parrot. The great thing is you can go run into the ocean and that's why I washed off. Yes?
I watched someone get pooped on by
A parrot? And where? You probably didn't help. Did you laugh?
Oh, I laughed a lot.
I laughed too. But that's my parrot story. Thankfully. It did not. Yes. Do I?
Yeah.
Is she going to pull? Or? Yeah, they're right up there. Yes.
Wait, no, what actually exploded?
A parrot!
Someone put a bomb in there or what? How is a parrot?
Let's get the, yes, that's the first question.
Please explain this.
Okay. A parrot is the name of a cannon that shoots a 20-pound shell. It's a rifled barrel, and the cannonball is designed much more like a conical shell, like you think of a bullet today. So it's very accurate. And it was being tested on board a ship. The idea being, that would be used either to defend against other ships or, on shore, or ships are big enough to move it. And when you make a cannon, a 20-pound cannon, the barrel's about that big. And to make iron consistently strong to withhold the explosion of the ignition of black powder, it's really difficult. And one part clearly was not forged correctly. And so you had this whole exhibition stand behind it to watch this cannon fire once, boom, very accurate, fire once, boom. No, it went backwards. The cannon exploded out the back, and Upshur died. Along with the Secretary of Navy. This was actually a horrific tragedy, but it's one of those weird things. Now remember, I read this in this very good thing called The Impending Crisis. And I'm reading, Road to Disunion. And it said, yes, and then 20-pound parrot exploded. Now I did say, you're reading like, what did I just read? But that's what happened here. Upshur's dead. We have Ashburton's response. We have this, trying to get a treaty. Who will become the next Secretary of State? John C. Calhoun. We can never get rid of Calhoun. He never dies. Calhoun, he would write, what's that?
He would have a tech.
Yeah, this is 1840. Yeah, he died in 1850.
Yes, he would have
At least that's what they want us to believe.
Yeah, he's still alive.
Oh yeah, he's still alive. Go to Charleston, South Carolina. Go to the South. All right, so Calhoun. Calhoun. Now I forgot what I was going to say. Thanks a lot, Brock.
It's parentheses, you know.
That was pretty funny. I got to thank you again for that. All right, so Calhoun, what he did is he wrote what's called the Pakenham Letter. Pakenham was the British ambassador to the United States. So he's basically writing the United States, but he hadn't published. I mean, this was a letter for American politics. It really was for Britain. You might remember the name Pakenham? Pakenham? It was his great uncle who was the general killed at New Orleans. Remember they packed in the barrel of rum? Yeah, same family. He wrote this letter, but in this letter, okay, first off, he says the basic thing, Britain should not annex Texas. But then he turned the whole thing into a full-throated defense of the system of slavery, and that slavery must expand. Slavery must have diffusion and spread into Texas and the West. Now, part of it is that letter. Now, this is all about Texas, but he turns into a thing that slavery is a great system. In fact, it's a better system than what they have in the North of Britain. Slaves like slavery. Oh, no, that's going to become Southern ideology. On Monday, the article, what have you, that's going to be that. I'm giving you a hint. That's slavery good. In fact, I wonder what the article's going to be called. The Positive Good Theory of Slavery. Of slavery. Yeah. Yeah, if you weren't positive, it's good. All right. So, this is a big deal. So he sent this letter there. But the other part is actually a remarkable bit of logic that I'll tell you here. Because this gets back to the fear the South had that, frankly, the North didn't quite understand. And people down the road would not understand why the Civil War happened. They say, forget about this, but I've told you this before. So think about it. If this becomes a free republic, and as states here, the demand for slavery goes down, and they begin to sell their slaves downriver, the percentage of slaves here is going to go up, meaning more likely to threat other lives. Slave rebellion. Slave rebellion here. Now, they didn't say, slave rebellion, no, that's bad. No, this is what they said. If you don't annex Texas, and we don't, you are condemning us, all of us in the South, to have our throats cut in the middle of the night, to have our children tortured to death, rape, murder, pillage. That's what you're doing to us if we don't annex Texas. And that's how the rhetoric became so inflammatory. So it's not just, slave rebellion's a bad thing. No, you're going to kill me. They know how they treated slaves. They knew. So, but that's not all. Think about slaves here. If a slave wants to run away from the hell of a slave with these slave factories, plant, these slave labor camps. I mean, really, that's what they were. Where do you go? That's a long ways. And they're here, even though there's not slavery, they're very hostile to runaway slaves here. Either got to get to Canada or maybe here. That's pretty scary distance, isn't it? Let's say you're in Mississippi. But if Texas is free, do you see it? This can become a sanctuary for runaway slaves. Not only that, and then the South could see the British arming the runaway slaves. And what would they do? Go back and start a slave rebellion. Do you remember in the video? I didn't talk about this. We're going to come back to it. I want a good overview. Do you remember that guy from Ohio? He also fought in Kansas. He went down to Harper's Ferry, was caught and hung, but he wanted to start a slave rebellion. John Brown. Right there. My great-great-great-grandfather, Wesley Partridge, rode with John Brown in Kansas. I literally just found that out too. It's kind of cool. What's wrong with that? Are you bad mouthing my family? And I'll let you move up here. So, with that, that is how the Southern mind was. That gives you an idea why they reacted so much to John Brown. And that's why this is such a big deal. So, with that, what's that? Parentheses?
You were just talking about names.
Wesley's a good name. No, I don't know. I just found that out. There's a bunch of Wesleys. And then, maybe I'll tell you, there's some really wild names in the past. So, with that, they said, this is war. Once it became this volatile, Tyler could not be renominated. And now the whole election of 1844 is going to be about Texas and what's going to happen there. Let's go ahead and show you one more thing then. The election of 1844. Now, in 1840, we have that, remember, Log Cabin and Hart Cider campaign about how image mattered. Well, this is different now. Image is really important, and both sides now are thinking, we got to portray this image. But now we're talking about the potential threat of war. And so, the election of 1844, I chose these two pictures for a good reason. What kind of country are we going to be? That is the question now. Is it going to be one of commerce and industry, but also wage slaves? Depending on your point of view. Or is it going to be a slave kingdom? A cotton production, and cotton's making a lot of money. What kind of country? And what we talk about that, it means we say what kind of country we are when we move into a new territory. We put that system in. Is it going to be a slave kingdom or a more commercial system like the North? But also a white republic. That's what they wanted. Well, Martin Van Buren wanted to become president. There's Van Buren. He wanted to come back again. The problem was Southerners thought he was secretly anti-slavery. And so everyone thought he'd get the nomination at the Democratic Convention, but Van Buren did not. And vote after vote at the convention, nobody could get the nomination, especially since it required 2/3 of them. Now, I know. I mean, look at that hair. Obviously, he should have been renominated, but time after time. So what happened? Write down dark horse. A dark horse was found. Its horse racing term means a long shot. Now, the big thing about dark horse in politics, they're a long shot because people don't know who they are. So they can come in. Remember that Log Cabin and Hart Cider issue of image? A long shot. An unknown entity can create their own image. And that's why dark horse candidates have a real advantage. If there's somebody trying to run for office and have a long record, good or bad as the record might be, that can and is going to be used against them. The dark horse is going to be, where's my mouse? James Knox Polk. Young Hickory from Tennessee. I wonder who he was a protege of. Anybody want to guess?
Calhoun.
No. Who's Old Hickory? Yeah, Jackson. And so, oh, by the way, that's his vice president. You don't need to know George Dallas, but yes, he does look like Martha Washington in that. Remember what I told you? I wonder what city is going to be named after the vice president. Anyone? Anyone? Albuquerque, of course. So, he avoided Texas completely. He supported Manifest Destiny. Really wanted California, but his whole focal point was Oregon. And we will 54-40 or fight against what country? And the whole thing was, yes, exactly right. He will take advantage of animosity about Britain. Yes, he wanted Texas, but the focal point was here. So it took the issue of Texas and slavery off the table. It's a brilliant political move. I'm not kidding. This is a brilliant move. And the thing is, Oregon, the U.S. citizens who are moving into here were not bringing slaves and did not want slave codes. So it was seen uncontroversial. So you could kind of play both sides. A very good candidate in a lot of ways. Dark horses are prominent. President Obama was really unknown. He was only in the Senate 2 years when he announced for president. So he had no real record. And then Trump is the definition of a dark horse because he has no political record. So he could create one. And that is a very effective campaign because that allows the voters to decide on their own what they will be. You know, they can be whatever they want for you. And you go up against someone with a long history, they could use that against them. The Whigs, there's Henry Clay. He's back. Talk about long history. There's Henry Clay. That smile. Every picture of him always looks like he's thinking of something. Now, you don't need to know his name, but yes, his running mate. John Frelinghuysen.
Is he German?
Dutch. He's one of the Dutch Frelinghuysen's. You're welcome. You're welcome. I know what all of you are thinking. I need another name for children's. Frelinghuysen.
Maybe a middle name.
Now, how do you support Clay? This is real. This is a true thing. And I want all of you to make this and wear this. You ready?
That's where that started.
That is from 1844. Clay and Frelinghuysen. And that creepy thing on back.
Why is Anne like right in the middle?
I know, because it says Clay, it's supposed to say, I think Frelinghuysen here, but.
But it's like right in the middle of the
I know, and the thing is, this is the back, it doesn't have Frelinghuysen. It's just awesome. It's just awesome. Now, here's his position on Texas, and it's a brilliant position. Are you ready? When his position? We should annex Texas if Mexico allows it. Did you hear that? Annex Texas if Mexico allows it. Will Mexico say, sure, annex Texas? Never. You see how he's trying to appease both sides, North and South? We're not going to annex Texas. Mexico will never allow it. Until the South, we're going to annex them. He angered everybody. So we'll finish a little bit of this and we'll go from there. Have a good day, everybody. Chewing gum. Santa Ana. Oh, I see you use my electricity for your phone. Jared did too. What's that? Yeah. It's coming out of your paycheck. Megan, could you get one of the lights too, please? Thank you.
One of them?
Just one, yep. Two is too bright.